Why do I feel like I want to be alone for the rest of my life? I feel guilty because of this. I feel like I crave God more than anything and nature. Shout out to my friend who asked this question. I liked it so much that rather than simply answering, I thought I'd make a video about it. Because I too am quite familiar with this experience, with this feeling. I like to think that if you're an introvert, you already by nature enjoy being alone. And once you go on what you might call a spiritual path, it just amplifies all of the introverted qualities 100x. And the reason for this is because at some point along one's journey, we realize that nothing in the external world can bring any lasting satisfaction. Because you cannot find lasting satisfaction in a temporary world. Everything's changing. That is why the Buddha said, life is unsatisfactoriness. That is why there is suffering. Because when you desire something, you suffer when you do not have it. And then when you get what you desire, you suffer because it's slowly going away. It's changing. And so by default, looking out into the world for peace, love, and happiness is a mistake. People get lost their whole lives doing this. But where you can find lasting satisfaction is in the eternal, is in God. And one will always be more in tune with God when they are alone. Because there are not so many distracting voices. There are not other people implanting your mind with certain ideas. Now, one may be part of a satsang where everybody is on the same mission, on the same path to realize God. Perhaps this is a different story. But for most of us living normal lives, we are around people who have no interest in the spiritual path, who are fully enveloped in the material world. And it's not that there's anything wrong with that, but one of the big things that happens on the spiritual journey is that it's very easy to lose your friends. It's very easy to no longer relate to anyone that you've known. Because you find that all of the things that you used to engage in and talk about, you no longer have any interest in. And so naturally, we kind of separate ourselves from others. And this can be hard for people because I think a lot of the time, the people around you expect you to be who they want you to be. Or in other words, they want you to stay the same so they can say, yes, I know this person, this is my friend, this is how they behave. They can have certainty and feel some kind of control. But when you change, you no longer fit the model of what other people have been believing of you. And people don't like that. Sometimes you reveal about others their flaws, places where they could change. And when people are comfortable staying the same, then any kind of change is a threat to their well-being. And it took me a long time to realize that you have no obligation to stay around people who aren't interested in changing. You may have this kind of moral feeling that says, well, I've known this person my whole life, but yet who they are no longer, there's not that same connection. Not because you don't have love for that person, but because that person may spend almost 99% of their time engaging in and talking about things you have absolutely no interest in anymore. And so what do? Do you force yourself to be around that person because you feel like that's the right thing to do? But what I found is that it is very important to take seasons of isolation, to be alone, to be by yourself. Because in truth, there is nothing more important than God. And the more you can find inner peace and inner stillness, the better you will be for everyone around you. And so it's not that you have to cut people off from your life indefinitely, but it's very important to cut off other people's energy. Because if you are changing and somebody else is not, then their energy will continue to keep you trapped in this kind of gross state, or this heaviness. And that's what you find, is that when you become lighter and lighter, you see the heaviness that other people carry with them, and it's almost unbearable. And you realize that most people don't want to change. They're comfortable in their quiet desperation. They're addicted to the cortisol, to the drama, to the negativity, to engaging in addictions and vices. And it's not that these people are bad people, but everybody has with them a certain energy. And so the more time you spend around certain people, their energy is going to rub off on you, and your energy is going to rub off on them. And people may want to be around you more because they sense that there's a lightness to you. There's a bit more carefreeness. So people kind of want what you have. But especially while you're still trying to go deeper and deeper within, perhaps you may not quite be there yet. Sometimes it's just important to rip off the Band-Aid and to say, I have to be alone for a while, because what I am doing is more important than the same old whatever that may be for you. And you have to be willing to be authentic and true to who you are. And sometimes this is at the expense of other people, because you being honest and true contradicts the image that other people have of you. Because maybe you've been wearing a mask for a long time. And when people grow accustomed to you wearing that mask, they may not like it when you take it off. And remember that the desire to be alone is just a feeling, and feelings come and they go. Being spiritual is not about running off into the woods and meditating for the rest of your life. It's more about living your life normally, but from a space of non-attached awareness. Shouldn't matter whether you're living in the big city or out in the mountains, because you are the unchanging. But when you're kind of in this in-between state of being in the world and being in the eternal, the forces around you and the environment are going to keep pulling you back. But once you can resonate enough in the eternal present moment, when you can remain as non-attached awareness, and that becomes the default state, then it's much easier to manage yourself and not let your environment play too big of a role in dictating your energy. It's not that it won't still happen, But energy management is probably the most important skill we can learn. Because where energy flows, that is what we give life to. And so if you're giving your energy to things that are negative, then it's critical that you cut these things off from your life. If you are on a mission, if you are on a certain path, going towards a certain destination, and people are keeping you from that path, then what else can you do? If you have a certain calling from God, let's say, are you going to let people distract you and take you away from that? Space is often the most healing thing we can do in any relationship, because we allow our energies to resonate within us and not be exchanging energies all the time. And so if you take the time to be alone, get yourself right first, then perhaps you can come back to the relationship and enjoy their company. And even if they still are engaging in the same negative things, you can use how you feel when you're around them as a guidance to say, how much time am I going to spend with this person? There are really too many good and positive people that you could be spending your time with. That does not justify being around negative people. And so you don't try and change anyone else. You simply change yourself. You set more boundaries so you can manage your energy better. And then you can always give others the opportunity to change with you if they so desire. But you cannot stop your mission, your path, because other people aren't accelerating at the same pace as you. We have to be able to let go of our attachments, because our attachments hold us down. And we don't need to judge these people. We send them all the love that we have. But there's no reason to be guilty, because you recognize that your path is more important than friendship and relationships. But we must remember this very important point, is that life is not meant to be lived in a vacuum. Human beings are not necessarily designed to live their lives alone. What I am talking about is seasons, periods of time in which you dedicate to finding silence and stillness, self-knowledge, meditation and seeking God. And then one comes back into the world to share all the things they've come to understand. That gives other people the opportunity to go down the same path if they so choose. And I think as introverted people, or just simply people on the spiritual path, it's easy to justify being alone in the name of self-improvement. I can avoid being around other people because I'm going to go home and I'm going to meditate. So we have to discern whether or not we're using something as an excuse, or whether or not we're in a season of isolation. But don't play the in-between game, because that will delay your journey, being half in and half out, half wanting to be alone and half trying to be around people you don't necessarily enjoy being around all that much. There's nothing wrong about being alone. Those who are alone reflect more. When you are alone, you have the greatest opportunity to deepen your connection with God. What can be more important than that? People are loud. God's voice can only be heard in silence. And this not only means being around other people, but being on social media as well. Because it's not so much about people, it's about information coming into your mind. What are you feeding your mind with? Is it garbage? Is it healthy? The more nonsense we have in our brain and our mind, the more clouded we get, the more difficult it is to hear the voice of God. So take the time for peace, to find stillness, to empty the mind. It's very easy to be misunderstood, but we cannot hold so heavily the opinions and perspectives of others, of how they view you. You can't always care what other people think, because they are always trying to make you to be a certain way. Everybody wants everybody else to be in a box so they can say, yes, I know this person, I am comfortable, I am in the known. My reality is safe, I understand what's going on. And the moment you try and break out of that box, they're going to get upset. There's going to be tension, because you're disrupting their reality, the reality they know, and you're forcing them to see that they actually didn't know, and they're forced to face the unknown, because any idea of control, of safety, was an illusion. Because what do we know about anything? We have to ignore 99% of reality, or else we become schizophrenic. And the 1% we focus on is only a reflection of our identity. Not only who we believe we are, but our unconscious. And so we see reality through a very filtered lens. And once you begin removing these filters from your eyes, from your mind, you see how asleep everybody else is. And that can be unbearable. Because on one end, you love the people around you, but there's nothing you can say or do to wake them up. You have to allow them to go at their own pace. And the more you go along this spiritual journey, the quicker you ascend. And so you exponentially separate yourself from the people around you. Now that doesn't mean you have to run away from everybody. It just means that people become unrelatable. And so this is one of the very difficult things on the spiritual path. You have to learn to cope with normal people, because you have become abnormal. You have become awake in a world full of people sleepwalking. And don't try and wake people up, because people don't want to be woken up. You let people be, and you focus on yourself, and you focus on getting yourself right. And there will be a time where you are no longer a problem in your life. Most of us are the problem. We are the ones ruining our lives. But once you get things right within, then you begin dealing with other people's problems. Now you can serve your purpose in healing others, those who want your guidance or your advice. You heal the problems within yourself so that you can heal the same thing within others. And then you can make a living from doing this. What greater life? A life of such purpose. So if you're feeling alone, or feeling like you don't relate to other people, feeling like you want to isolate yourself from the world. These are just some of the growing pains of awakening, and they will pass. But I would say follow these feelings. See where they take you. And you will know soon enough whether or not it was the right or wrong decision. And if you listen to your intuition, you will know the time to return to the world of 10,000 things. And you will be of great benefit to the people. But sometimes you just need that season of isolation. And these are often the times when we grow the most. So there is nothing wrong with this.